I'm Program Director for the MIT South Africa program and Director for the MIT Africa Initiative. And we're so happy always to have our Empowering the Teachers fellows here to add to the scholarship and interest of our campus. A great pleasure. One of the things that the MIT Africa Initiative is doing is to really open the forum for discussing the connections between MIT and the various regions of Africa, and to address issues of concern that touch us all, and to come together as human beings and discuss these issues and find common ground and common ways to perhaps move forward in ways that lead to mutually wonderful connections. Our discussion today really touches on a concern that in various forms is worldwide concern, but also a very personal concern in Nigeria. And it's really our honor to have Dr. Malachy Sumaila talk to us today about Boko Haram and how the movement has touched his own life and the implications for his own family and his own trajectory, and for the trajectory of Nigeria in terms of this very disturbing group. Dr. Sumaila is a mechanical engineering lecturer from Ahmadu Bello University in northern Nigeria. He's here as a distinguished Empowering the Teachers Fellow. He'll share his experiences today from the perspective of his university community and family, and we're so glad that you have been willing to do this and share that with us. Let me introduce some of the other Empowering the Teachers Fellow. Adaya Ojiokor, yeah? Such a pleasure. Ibrahim Adiyanu, hi there, Ibrahim, good to see you. Michael Luwan, so nice to see you, Michael. And Fred Kinemuka, such a pleasure to have you all here on our campus. Dr. Sumaila, please.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm just here to share my experiences and thoughts and what has been going on in Nigeria that it has been obscured to some extent, has not received some global attention. On the screen here you have these girls. These girls, some of the girls I got to display here, are the ones that were being kidnapped in their school on the eve of their examination. When they are about to write their chemistry exam the following day, the final chemistry exam, militants came in and took them away. Some of them have returned, as we can see it, largely the majority of them. I'm going to give an overview on actually Fred, Dehai, and Ibrahim, they're all Nigerians, so I'll also contribute in one way or the other, trying to streamline the discussion. So, Boko Haram operates in this area. There is Medjugorje here. There is Baza. This is my hometown. Right? This is where I grew up. I went to primary school, secondary school. Here. This is Chibok, where these girls were kidnapped, the school. And then this is Zaria, where I live with my family now. The university is there. Medjugorje is, I have a history with Medjugorje because I went to the undergraduate degree program in the University of Medjugorje there. So I spent like 7 years in the 90s. So this is the area of operation of Boko Haram. This is the hotbed. And you can see that it's bordered by Niger to the north, and Chad to the northeast, and then Cameroon to the east. And then you have the Lake Chad, which is an inland drainage lake in the desert. Majority of these portions are desert. That's the Sahara Desert. So that is essentially the area of conflict where Boko Haram is stationed. Then how did it all started? Mohammed Yusuf is the founder of Boko Haram. He was the one that originated the ideology of Boko Haram. But their name, their official name, in fact, they don't like to be associated or called Boko Haram. They don't call themselves Boko Haram, officially. It's Jamatu Ali Suna Lidawati Wal Jihad. That is their official name. And it's translated to English, people committed to the propagation of the faith of the prophets and teaching jihad. So this is the actual meaning of the name of the organization, the official name. But Boko Haram came up because they are focused on opposing Western education. And hence the name Boko. Boko, Western education. And the literature form of Boko, So, and then you have Haram. Hausa language, local language, Haram is something forbidden. So Western education, Western styles, Western society type of living is forbidden. This is their own ideology. They were peaceful, for the first 7 years, although maybe they were gathering momentum, but they were relatively very peaceful, although they had withdrawn themselves from the society. They were on their own, they come into the towns, they preach in some mosques, in the town, specific mosques, and they were on their own. Then they launched military operation in 2009. That was when they actually gained prominence. But before then, there were indications that they were stockpiling some lethal weapons, AK-47, learning how to make IEDs, tactical trainings. But they have not yet come into the environment. At that point, the security, Nigerian security, such what they call state security service, infiltrated their camp and then was able to arrest some of their commanders. But they had not yet become, a militant group, so to speak, because they have not yet attacked anybody. But there are indications that they might go beyond that. So there are two speculations why they launched the attack in 2009. One was that as a result of the military or security infiltration into their camps, the weapons they have stockpiled were seized from them. So when it was seized, maybe that provoked them to launch an attack against the state. Then the other speculation is that they had a clash with the mobile security men, anti-riot policemen at a checkpoint. As a result, there was disagreement, and then some of them were shot, died. So the following day, they were going to bury those dead members, followers. And so they also had a clash with the security forces. So that was actually where, since then, everything was really breakdown for one another. But the then president, Musa Yar'Adua, sent forth a detachment of the military and really crushed them, destroyed their camps completely. So, and some of their members were already in prison that were arrested. And so they went on the ground. Not until 2011, as we'll see later. So their initial targets were places of worship, that is churches mostly, and government institutions, police barracks, local government headquarters, any form of government, any form of Western democracy. That was their target, because they want to institute a strict form of Islam. Now Yusuf was 39 years old. This is the guy here as the head of the Boko Haram, and then he's actually a university graduate, so to say, and he speaks English very fluently, and he sometimes lives lavishly. People say he drives a Mercedes-Benz car. Now, he believes that education spoils the belief in God, and he rejects those theories like rain formation, when you have the water cycle, evaporation, condensation, and he totally disagrees with that. And then the earth sphericity that the earth is not sphere, it's flat. No, he rejects this ideology. Then the Darwin theory of evolution, then voting in democracy, all this he completely rejected. So when they launched the military operation in 2009, the military captured him. Fortunately, he was trying to escape when they handed him over to the police, then shot. That was how he escaped. Now his second in command, this guy, the most deadly among them, brutal among them, who is, we don't know whether he's still alive, he's dead, but we have been having information that he has been killed. You see him appearing in videos again, he's been killed, you see. So Shakau now took over in 2009, and then he's now heading the organization. So from Maiduguri, their base here, they have been launching attacks to various parts of Nigeria. You know. So they operate in Kano, they launch an attack in Kano, even in Abuja, as you see later. In Adamawa, this is my state, this is where I came from, this is my hometown is here. And then from there, even up to this area. This map shows the tribal, you know, the different ethnic groups in Nigeria. So here you have the House of Fulani, this is the Kanuri, and all that. So, there are 3 events that happened in 2011. People didn't take them seriously initially, but these 3 events drew some global attention, and even the United States Foreign Affairs Office came into the whole scene. The first was in August, they bombed the United Nations building. That was the first in Nigerian history. We've never had a suicide bomber. You know, Nigerians, you know, they love life, they don't want to die. But this is completely something that, you know, so hard. It's a hard. How can somebody kill himself? You know, everybody is just okay. What must have happened? So they will have a vehicle laden with IEDs, food. Then they will not drive it into the United Nations building. That was in August. Then there was a police Air Force headquarters. This one happened in November. It was also bombed. In fact, the Inspector General of Police narrowly missed. It was narrowly missed. Then there was a Christmas Day bombing in same 2011, all in Abuja. So in addition to that, there were other indiscriminate attacks in schools, police stations, hospitals, and banks, you know, bunches of attacks. So as a result of that, after that incident of the bombing, what again drew the most outrage is the kidnapping of these girls. So before these girls were kidnapped, there were actually many kidnappings of women, young girls, before the Chibok girls were kidnapped. But that Chibok girl was so enormous that in one whole swoop, it just, you know, made away with them. And so they were in slavery, and after some time, Shekau now posted this on YouTube. You know, that was how we got to know that they're still alive, because many people thought they must have been killed or something. And then it sparked some global outrage when you have world leaders now protesting, bring back our girls, bring back our girls. And interestingly, just last week, there was a school, you know, they attempted, this is a girls' school, these are the girls running from the school. There are about 540 girls in the school in Gombe, southern part of Borno State. They attempted going to kidnap those girls too, but you know, the military now is more organized. As such, they were able to thwart the effort. But the girls were safely evacuated from that area. So the northern Nigeria, northeastern Nigeria is actually a very, very volatile situation here. Now, as a result of that, the president, Jonathan, declared the state of emergency in 2003 in May. So it was extended again. But we find out that the declaration of state of emergency, the Boko Haram now stepped up their operations. In fact, there were more killings within the state of emergency than there were earlier than that. And why, we don't know. But the military was deployed to that area. And then the Department of State designated the commanders of Boko Haram as as terrorists, although the organization was not, and then placed a bounty of $7 million on information leading to the capture of this guy, brutal guy, Boko Haram, because he was saying he would sell all the girls, you know, and very, very brutal. So there were some efforts in trying to rescue those girls. And one of these guys that was doing the work behind the scenes, actually, although he has been in contact with Nigeria and the terrain for a long time. In fact, before this insurgent, the Niger Delta area, which is the oil producing area, was where there was a lot of resting, there was a lot of oil pumping, there was a lot of, the revenue of Nigeria just nosedived because all the oil companies had to leave, oil workers, the kidnappings. So Dr. Stevens was instrumental in trying to negotiate between the federal government and the militants. Amnesty was given to them. So he was invited this time around to try and negotiate the release of these girls. So, but the Boko Haram are very confident of him. He has been in contact with them since their formation. And I think he was there as a missionary, so he was not discriminating because that area is a Muslim-dominated area. So in all the relief, for all the schools, hospitals, he was not discriminated. So they had very much confidence in him. And he was almost getting securing the release of the girls. Very almost getting it. Then this guy, Sheikh Hussaini, is a human rights activist in northern Nigeria. He also facilitated a meeting between the leaders of Boko Haram and the former president. Remember, they started in 2002, up to 2002. So President Obasanjo was in power. And all this while, they feel, okay, he has not inconvenienced them, he has not, maybe say he has turned a blind eye to them, but he has not really arrested any of them or tried to crack down on them. But so they agreed, and they started negotiation. So, but somehow the negotiation was bungled, and all the commanders that were negotiating with Obasanjo were killed by the Boko Haram. These people also were working behind the scene with Stevens, trying to rescue those girls. So there were efforts, but at a certain point, the Boko Haram will request that all their commanders, their wives, be released from detention, and the government is not so sure if they release the detainees, they are going to release the girls. So nobody is trusting the other. Boko Haram doesn't trust the government, and the government doesn't trust Boko Haram in trying to. So that is it. But one other incident that crippled the effort of Stevens was the placing of the bounties. He was almost getting the secure the releasing of the girls, but the government now announced that anybody having information leading to the rescue of these girls will be given 50 million naira as a reward. So there was a problem in their camp. So the other group now came and then seized those girls and take them to another location. So much that by the time they came actually for the actual swapping of the girls, they couldn't find them again. So that was it. So there are at least 3 people that were alleged to be sponsors. One is the former governor of Borno State. And it's good to have a background here. Ahmadu Sharif is the former governor of Borno State. And in the Nigerian political system, most of the governors have militias, to canvass for vote for them when it comes to voting. And he decided to use Mohammed Yusuf because of his oratory. Mohammed Yusuf, he said he's gifted in oratory. When he sits down, he will convince you. He'll be able to talk to you and you will reason with him. He was not militant as Shakal. So Modi Sharif identified him, tried to relate with him, so that he can use Mohammed Yusuf to canvass for votes in the mosques. Meanwhile, he will now give protection or money or something, in return to Mohammed Yusuf. So when he won the election, then it fell apart. So that was where the problem came from. And it was actually Stevens that said, Ahmadu Sharif and Head Jurika, which is the former chief of defense staff, they are the alleged sponsors. But all of them rejected it, that's not true. And Ahmadu Sharif threatened to sue Stevens in Australia. Stevens, of course, said, okay, welcome him when he comes to the airport. So you have the Chadian president, Idris Deby. It is interesting, I don't know. But the issue is that it's the economic dimension to the whole thing. When you look at the previous map, you find out, I pointed out Lake Chad, isn't it? Now Lake Chad, Republic of Chad discovered oil in Lake Chad. And then are already exploiting it. And then Niger also have started drilling their oil. Now it's the same basin. So some people are of the opinion that Chad is trying to destabilize the region to prevent Nigeria from extracting the oil, since it's the same aquifer. So this is another dimension to it. But there are some even incidences where because Boko Haram have never attacked any target in Chad, but they have attacked targets in Niger and have attacked targets in Cameroon, which are our neighbors. So, and on many occasions, this guy, his mother is from Chad. He funded the president to win election in Chad. He has a house in Chad. His relations are in Chad. So there's a very big connection. In fact, when President Jonathan of Nigeria visited Chad recently, he went and met Ahmadu Sharif was there in the presidential palace. He was one of the people that welcomed him. And it also sparked some criticism that how can he be associating with somebody Dr. Stevens says is So to go further, now to date, we find out that Boko Haram has been capturing and creating caliphates. And it appears it's inspired by the ISIL type of thing. Because when ISIL declared a caliphate, that was when, after a week or two, Boko Haram launched an attack in the first town, Goza, and captured it and declared a caliphate. So you find out that in that caliphate, there's strict application of Sharia, where you have amputation and flogging, not really going through a judicial process. So today they have claimed about 21,000 square kilometers of land, which is equivalent to the size of New Jersey in the US. And it's completely under the control of Boko Haram, which is 13% of the land area of the whole of Northeast. Now in that caliphate, there's forced conversion of abductees, and more women and boys too are being abducted. They are running out of foot soldiers, so they abduct even boys along the line. And then another new dimension to it is the use of suicide bombers, girls, female suicide bombers. When you're entering a room, you'll be checked, but usually when a fully dressed, in a Muslim attire, dressed woman, you will not be able to, you just ask her to back up. So people either disguise as girls, or actually they are girls, but they will cover up, feed the eyes everywhere. And you find out that, and they have done some few bombings last month in main market in Borno State. And also they attempted to take over the government house of Yobe State and adjoining state to Borno State. Now, as a result of this, there are seriously people needing humanitarian assistance, and about 3 million people have been displaced from their region, which is about the size of Massachusetts. Massachusetts is 3.5, 3.4. So, about the size of Massachusetts, people are displaced. Imagine the whole of Massachusetts, everybody is displaced, and you find here is ghost town. And what Boko Haram does is break the houses and all. Out of this amount, 30% of the population. That's the base population. Out of this amount, 700,000 are children, actually. And they've been separated from their families, and resulting into about 10,000 deaths. So the elderly, the sick, you know. In fact, some of my aunts don't know where they are because they are trapped in that area of conflict. No news. Keep hoping. Now the IDPs are really overstretched with no food, no sleeping material, drugs, schools for the children, and the report I read last week shows that some even go days without food, you know, the IDPs. And now the season has set in, it's going to be cold. So you can imagine what will happen. Usually September, October, November is a time of harvest, where they must have cultivated their crops. So now the crops are there, Boko Haram sets fire on them. Once they get the ones that's okay for them, sets fire on the rest of them. Houses, cities and towns, the ones that you know belongs to prominent politician, prominent military personnel, general in the army, just set it ablaze and other things. So far there has been limited international response actually. So the other dimension to Boko Haram, as I ponder over it, is these statistics. You see, this is the map of Nigeria. And you have the northeast, the northwest, and the north central. Then you have the southeast, south, and southwest. These are the 6 geopolitical zones that makes up the country. Now, from here up, it's regarded as northern Nigeria. So, and this is where Boko Haram is predominantly, although they had some attack in Lagos, here, which is the commercial center of Nigeria, and it has a population of about 14 million people. So, but this is where the area Boko Haram is. Now, if you find out that the population of Nigeria is more or less split into half between the north and the south. As such, you find out that the schools children out of school in the north is 40%. And then southern part of the country have 8.6%. So you find out that there's huge educational gap, which probably brings up, you know, Boko Haram having ready armies to recruit. Then the literacy level as well is higher in the north than in the south, and the poverty level is higher. In fact, this 70.5% is of the 58 million. Out of the estimated population of Nigeria of 160 million people, 58 are actually living below the poverty line. Do you get 58 million? So 70% of the 58 million are in the northern part of the country. You get it? And more than half are in the northeast, where the area of conflict is. You get it? So likely this is what is brewing up the whole thing. Then you have youth unemployment. So find out that because the members are also drawn from dissatisfied youth, sometimes graduates who don't get employment. Because when you sit with Mohammed Yusuf or some people that know him, when he talks to you, you don't have any choice but to listen, and then he has that skill. So there's continuing protests all over the world. The prominent protests is the bring back the hashtag, bring back our girls. This is a group in Nigeria. They have been here since the girls were kidnapped at the Millennium Park in Abuja. And some of the prominent figures are OBS President, raising her hand. She's a former cabinet minister. In fact, she worked with the World Bank and IMF. Then you have Dino Milai, he's a former student activist and a former legislator. So every day, bring back our girls, we meet, and then send letters of protest, request embassies to intervene in order to secure the release of the girls. But on and on, Boko Haram has been kidnapping more and more, such that here, this is what happened in Kano last week. Remember I was talking about Chad. In the airport, a cargo plane was seized belonging to Russia, carrying arms, going to Chad. So there was no much information. And because there was a bombing in Kano last month, the youth now came up in protest. They should tell them where the plane is coming from, the actual content of the plane, who owns the plane and who owns the content, and where is it heading to. So continuously you have protests. These are moving emotionally, and then you have other groups that are coming. So I want to show you some video so that maybe it's a report by one of the Associated Press writers, researchers.
Town in northwest Nigeria. Witnesses say the Islamist militant group stormed the town of Mubi last week, killing dozens of people. This man left 4 daughters behind.
They are firing all over the mountain, all places. So we are just going to replace our life.
Witnesses also said the insurgents robbed banks, burned down the main market, and sacked the palace. One saw them kill a university lecturer and his entire family. As they flee the violence, finding a safe place is a new challenge, with refugee camps running out of room.
We don't have place that will keep this thing. We don't have room.
Violence in Nigeria's northeast has been on the rise since the government announced a ceasefire with rebels nearly 2 weeks ago to pursue talks in neighboring Chad aimed at freeing more than 200 girls kidnapped in April. Boko Haram's leader said the girls had been, quote, married off to his fighters, contradicting an earlier announcement of a deal to release them.
Walgreens knows.
So this video was Mubi. Mubi is a town in northeast Nigeria. It's hosting a university, a polytechnic, army barrack, College of Health and Technology, and some other big institution, College of Agriculture Technology. So it was overrun. It has close to 250,000 people. They attacked the university, burned down the dormitories, burned down the offices, and those that they were able to see there killed some of the lecturers, the family, children. It's so sad actually. That is the situation of Boko Haram in Nigeria. I hope you're able to communicate very well. Thank you.
Do you want to take some questions?
Yeah,
You mentioned that your very first slide was the picture before years.
Yes.
You said some of them have come back. Can
yeah.
you talk about what they have said, where they were?
Yeah, actually, about 57 of the girls escaped from the camps. And then that was in the first one or 2 weeks. They were not complaining actually. There was no issue of harassment. Some of them said they were well taken care of, but there were no shelter. Had to cook their own food. Actually, some of them escaped when they asked them to go to the nearby stream to fetch water to cook. So they just run off. They would just run maybe for like 48 hours, more than that, 2 days, 3 days. I mean, you would just find themselves in a community where, because of the information that the girls have been kidnapped, some of the local hunters come across them and kind of draw their attention, try to interview them, try to make sure. But But some of them that have escaped now, there is a American University in Europe that has given scholarships to them. So government is also trying to see how some of them will be rehabilitated and taken to schools in the southern part of the country, pending when the others will be released.
I was curious, is the entire membership of Boko Haram, are they all from Hausa, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Are they all,
Well, it's mainly, they started from the Kanuri tribe in the northern part, in Borno state, Borno and Yobe. But they got sympathizers, just like you have the youths unemployed. And in Medjugorje, there's a teaching hospital. A friend, my neighbor actually, in Zaria, where I stay, he was saying that some people even left their job to join Boko Haram. So it's totally unbelievable. You cannot even, nurses in the hospital leaving job to join Boko Haram to fight. It's totally unbelievable. Yeah. So you really cannot tell. So it's a kind of mix, but predominantly is the Kanuris in the northeast of Nigeria. Yes.
Thank you for your presentation. I have a question of the percentage of Christian and Muslim people in Nigeria, and also if they attack both Muslim and Christian, Boko Haram attack both Muslim, because I see that people with this call, they escaping from them. Is it the same?
Yeah, Nigeria is also just like the population split north and south into half. That is how it is split into Muslim and Christians. So there are Muslims in the north, there are Christians in the north. There are Muslims in the south, there are Christians in the south. So but the north is predominantly Muslim, while the south is predominantly Christian. Now Boko Haram has been attacking both sides. You get it? Initially, it was attacking the Christian community, the churches, you get it, and the government establishment. But they kind of deviate from that, and we are attacking Muslims as well. In fact, what sparked this protest was an attack in a mosque in central Nigeria, in Kano, a very big mosque. About 120 people were killed, and it was a bombing, it's a bomb-planted suicide bomber. So the Muslims are also killed, are also attacked, especially those Muslim leaders that condemn the mode of worship and their beliefs. They go after them.
Is there any division between those Muslims? For example, Malachy Muslim or different?
Well, I don't know much about it, so I'm so sorry.
No, I think, sorry, just to, so I think we don't have the issue of maybe the Sunni Shia.
I know they are all Sunni, but Sunni Maliki, Sunni Hanafi.
Okay, no, to be sincere, no. But I think predominantly the north we have more Malikis actually, so.
And what's the relation with Al-Qaeda, if there is any relation between them? Because Al-Qaeda mainly are Hanbali.
Oh, okay.
Well, there were reports that Boko Haram wanted to establish link with Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb. And there are also reports that the arms that was used to topple Gaddafi were the ones being transported over the desert and were used by Boko Haram. So, but these are reports that I can't really say because I'm not privy to such first-hand information. But I'm just telling what I'm experiencing and what I've seen as far as northern Nigeria and northeast in particular.
thank you, Malachy, that's very, to your presentation, it's so worrying on a countrywide and a personal level for you and your family. Is there a sense, maybe this is what your question was getting at, I didn't understand really. Is there any sense that ISIS and Boko Haram would form some kind of a formal alliance? That there would be a, very worrying stretch, across
Actually,
the desert?
Actually, there's no report on that. There has never been. Although Shakal himself, in some of the videos, he's very good at releasing videos. To tell you that he's still. I know terrorists, their approach is that they will instill fear. Imagine 250,000 people in a town in Mubi, and some ragtag fellows will just come in and sack the whole town, including the military park. It's later you get to find out that they are not many, they are not even many, So they have already instilled the fear. So he only mentions about ISIS, Abu Zaid, in his videos. He comments them. But he has I've never heard or even read that there's any formal kind of alliance between ISIS. But I think they draw some inspiration from ISIS and ISIS.
So I know I've heard that they target schools in particular because they don't want the education. So when they take over schools or they attack schools, it seems like maybe the universities are closing down, or kind of what's happening to that, because there's already that education gap. What's happening to universities in the north of Nigeria? Are they closed, or have they relocated, or what's happening with the students?
They're basically closed. They're basically closed, and some of them set on fire, burnt, destroyed. While some, virtually nothing. Once they come into the town, like this 700,000, they're out of school. No longer in school. They're struggling to survive now before they can take off from the school. So once they attack the school, they burn sensitive places, set them ablaze. Then they loot. One of the places they actually like attacking is the hospitals, because they get medical supplies from them. Because we learned that some of the members of Boko Haram are even medical doctors or sympathizers to Boko Haram. So when some of them are injured in combat,
You said that there'd been very little international response, relief response.
Yeah.
Do you have a sense of why that is?
But I don't know. That's a very interesting question. But likely it's fatigue. There's so much fatigue around the globe. And Boko Haram represent 10% of global terror. So the issue of ISIL have overshadowed the issue of even the girls have not been rescued, but you don't hear about them. So everywhere is media fatigue. Everywhere is tired of about the same thing. And I must mention here that these things, the government response has not been very, very much encouraging at all, because there are instances where it's like the army is just trying to contain it rather than trying to crush it. Boko Haram will attack the next village, the army will shift. It will not go to the next village, the army will shift. They say, okay, just stay there, just don't come back. So it's just like maybe containing it rather than actually trying to crush it. So you find out that maybe because of morale, or lack of equipment, lack of proper training, never can tell. But there are instances where there was mutiny in Maiduguri, where some soldiers were killed and they were dissatisfied, rank and file were dissatisfied, and they shot at their commander. So, and that even, they were court-martialed, and were given sentences, some life, some jail terms. That sparked a lot of outrage, because some of the Boko Haram fighters that were arrested or caught in combat were taken to courts and were given non-life sentences. Now the soldiers that were fighting were given death penalties. So the public was silent. So what's happening? These are people that actually killed hundreds. They're giving him life sentences. But maybe that's the law. Jesus.
Is there any political split in Nigeria? I mean, the difference between political parties and also about the central government. How is the formation of central government? Is it a federal state or is it a central state?
Well, it's a federal system, but a lot of power is concentrated. We have states as federating units and local government as federating units, but a lot of power is concentrated in the middle. In such a way that the police is controlled by the federal, the army is controlled. In fact, more than half of the resources is controlled centrally. And there are actually two parties now, but before there were more than that. You have the PDP and the APC. These are the two major contending parties. But all of them blame each other. So you really cannot say when one talks the other one responds. When one talks the other one responds. And actually the work doesn't get done. So as far as you're concerned, all of them are the same. So now there's going to be the next election by February next year. And so the attention have now shifted to campaigning and politicking, forgetting about what Boko Haram is doing. So, can you imagine? Maybe until when they finish the election, then we start campaigning. Yeah.
The number is quite high, 700,000 children with parents, 3 million displaced.
Yeah.
Is that quite annoying? And is it they need the logistics to do that? They need some sort of support to maintain the power in the region. Is it a tribal support? Is it a foreign support? Is there any such thing?
Well, good question. You see, the US, when the girls were kidnapped, the US came in, France came in, Germany, and Britain, in order to coordinate effort to rescue the girls. So they were stationed in Niger Republic, northern, they were not even. So all of a sudden, I didn't hear anything about that again. So there were a lot of blame games. Nigerian politicians would say, oh, US refused to sell us arms and hardware. US say, Nigeria, your human rights records is very poor. So we cannot, and there are instances where Boko Haram have attacked the barracks and looted the armory. So US doesn't want a situation whereby they will give Nigeria those supplies, and Boko Haram attacks those camps, and the weapons ends up in the hands of Boko Haram to kill innocent people. So it's a kind of, but US has been in a strategic relationship trying to train the military. I think they have done 2 stages of the training now. I think they are at the final stage, the 3rd stage. And when it will commence, that is what we're waiting for. So maybe as in relation to the question you asked, the possible reasons why the minorities, it's largely, you see, Boko Haram is very brutal when it comes to foreigners and people opposed to the ideology. So even if you have those humanitarian assistance that you can provide, you have to be extremely careful. Because you don't know who is Boko Haram. You don't know. You cannot say, because the way they get information, even right from the government, the federal palace, they get information. Even tactical maneuvers, tactical commands, they get this information prior to when the military is about to launch an attack. You find out that they're already aware of it. So there are some things that you cannot really say why it happened. But the issue is that people don't want to go into such conflict zones and be trapped. I think that is one of the reasons why. So I hope I've not made your you guys looking so gloomy. So You want to refresh it up a little bit.
Yeah. I'd like to thank Malachy, Dr. Sumaila, for sharing
Thank you.
his thoughts. Very provocative. I would say, one thing we didn't discuss, but it really strikes me in your figures, is the impact on learning and on education from this, and what has happened to all those students that your colleagues our colleagues would have been teaching in Nigeria, and now those young people are just sitting there without the forward trajectory of education. And I think that is just tragic. Just think of a generation or some years of education just lost there that I certainly hadn't really put my finger on. And your figures, I think, really helped us appreciate that. So thank you so much. We really appreciate your care in the preparation and your delivery. We appreciate that.
Thank you.